Say the word coffee out loud if you can. For one of those sounds, your lower lip pressed lightly against your top teeth. You didn't decide to do it. You've done it a million times without a thought. But that tiny motion, lip to teeth, might be one of the youngest things your mouth knows how to do. Younger than the pyramids. Younger than writing. A sound that your ancestors, standing right where humans stood 100,000 years ago, may not have been able to make at all. Here's the thing nobody tells you about your own voice. It isn't fixed. The human mouth has been physically rebuilt, not once, but twice. And each time, it quietly changed the list of sounds a human being could make. One of those rebuilds is ancient, buried deep in evolution. The other happened so recently it barely feels like biology at all. It happened because of what your ancestors had for dinner. So let's start with the old one. Every other primate on Earth carries its voice box high in the throat. Yours sits low. Somewhere along the human line, the larynx, the little box that holds your vocal cords, dropped down into your neck. And that drop did something no other animal's throat can do. It opened up a second chamber above the cords, turning your throat into a two-tube instrument. That second tube is the reason you can make vowels. The clean ah, the sharp e, the round oo. Here's what's wild about that. The drop came with a cost. Your windpipe now shares a single doorway with your food. Every other mammal can breathe and swallow at the same time. You can't. You choke. That is the price of speech. A throat rebuilt for talking, at the risk of dinner going down the wrong way. Evolution paid it anyway. Now, the second rebuild. And for this one, look at your own teeth. When you close your mouth, your top teeth almost certainly sit slightly in front of your bottom teeth. A small overhang. An overbite. You probably think that's just how teeth work. It isn't. For most of human history, it wasn't normal at all. Your hunter-gatherer ancestors closed their mouths and their top and bottom teeth met edge to edge, like two blades of a scissor lining up flat. No overhang. We know this because of the skulls. 3 decades of prehistoric jaws dug up all over the world, showing the same thing again and again. Flat, edge-to-edge bites, not overbites. And the reason is almost embarrassingly simple. They were chewing food that fought back. Raw roots, tough, sinewy meat, wild grain you had to grind between your teeth for a lifetime. That kind of chewing wears teeth down and drags the jaw into that flat, edge-to-edge close. Here's something strange, though. Every human child is actually born with a slight overbite. Back then, a lifetime of hard chewing slowly ground it away. And then, around 8,000 years ago, the grinding stopped. Farming arrived, and with it came soft food, porridge, bread, cheese, cooked grain you could practically swallow whole. Suddenly, the jaw wasn't fighting for every single meal. The teeth stopped wearing flat. And the childhood overbite that used to disappear by adulthood simply stayed. Grown adults kept the mouths of children. Think about that for a second. A change in the dinner bowl reached up and reshaped the human face. And that reshaped face did something no one saw coming. In 1985, an American linguist named Charles Hockett noticed something odd. The languages of hunter-gatherer peoples were missing an entire family of sounds. The sounds you make by pressing your lower lip against your upper teeth, F and V. They were almost never there. Hockett had a hunch it was about the bite. His colleagues thought that was ridiculous. Language, they said, has nothing to do with your teeth. And for 34 years, that was the end of it. Then, in 2019, a team at the University of Zurich, Damien Blasi, Stephen Moran, and Balthazar Bickel, decided to test it. They built biomechanical models of the human mouth and made them talk. They fully expected to prove Hockett wrong. They didn't. The models showed that making an F or a V takes almost 30% less effort when you have an overbite than when your teeth meet edge to edge. Then they checked the world's languages. Hunter-gatherer tongues had only about a quarter as many of these sounds as farming societies. The pattern Hockett guessed at was real. So sit with what that actually means. Say the word father. Say 5. Say love. For your ancestors 10,000 years ago, before farming, those sounds sat at the very edge of what their mouths were built to do. Not because their brains were simpler, not because their language was primitive, but because their teeth met flat, and flat teeth make an F hard. And here's the part that doesn't get talked about enough. Nobody invented these sounds on purpose. With the new Overbite, people were simply more likely to slip, to reach for a P or a B and land on an F by accident. The slips caught on. They spread. They turned out to be useful because they gave people brand new words to tell apart. And today, those two accidental sounds live in nearly half of every language on Earth. Farming didn't just feed the world. It quietly rewrote the alphabet. Line it all up. Your voice box dropped deep into your throat, and you gained every vowel you have ever spoken. Your ancestors chewed raw and tough for 100,000 years and ground their bite flat. Then they planted seeds. The food went soft. The grinding stopped. The overbite stayed. And one ordinary day, in some village that left no name behind, a lip brushed against a row of teeth, and out came a sound no hunter had ever needed. And it stuck. You will use the letter F maybe 100 times before you sleep tonight. In coffee, in phone, in thank you for the food. You will never once feel it as strange. But every time your lip touches your teeth, you are performing a motion your species had to be physically rebuilt to make. First by a million years of evolution dropping your voice box, and then by a farmer, somewhere, choosing to boil grain instead of tearing meat. Your ancestors didn't sound like you. Not because they were louder or deeper or wilder, but because the shape of your mouth is a record of everything they ate. You think you're speaking English or Hindi or whatever your mother taught you. But underneath the words, you're speaking the food. 10,000 years of it, out loud, every single day.